Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncommon Energy Podcast. No face cams for us this week because Azul is actually here with me in person in my office. We are in the midst of recording a bunch of content over the next week for the second channel we have, the Uncommon Energy channel, our casual, TCG challenges and gameplay videos channel. If you're unfamiliar, be sure to check it out, but I'm sure many of you are. And all the cameras that I use for filming the podcast and such are set up elsewhere in the room, and it would just be a little too much for us to try to pull it all down after recording all day videos for that. So no face cams this week. You get what you take what you get here, and but we still had to make sure we do the podcast this week because there is so much to talk about. There's the results from the Japan Championships this past weekend, cards for that was in the World Championships format, so plenty to look at there, of course. And we will also have new cards revealed at the Japan Championships. So we'll take a look at a bunch of new cards for the Mega Evolution block of the game that is upcoming. We will, of course, still have Guess That Flavor Text, everyone's favorite segment of the podcast. And we're going to wrap it up by talking about a ton of new information about the upcoming 2026 season. The first couple of regional championships announced for North America, some changes to the tournament structure, some changes to the round timers, some controversial things. We'll kind of give our thoughts on all of the new reveals. And then, of course, we will have our weekly bonus episode exclusive to our YouTube channel members and Spotify subscribers. My name is Chip Ritchie, and I'm joined here, as always, by my friend and co-host, Azul GG, in person this week. Azul, how we doing, buddy? How have you been enjoying North Carolina?
It's been a little hot, a little bit more humid than I'm now used to, but I used to live on the East Coast. I don't remember how bad it used to be in Boston or Massachusetts, but it was still pretty humid. It was probably about the same, to be honest. Probably not, maybe not quite, but close. But yeah, didn't do much streaming since I got back from NAIC. I only streamed Friday, Saturday for the Japan Championships. Did a little recap of my run at NAIC, and yeah, then streamed the Japan Championships. Then I missed one round of day one. It was 10 rounds day one, best of one.
Oh.
And I believe the ties were double game loss. But yeah, I tapped out right before round 10. But apparently round 10 was like Golden Go versus what was it? Golden Go versus Iona's Belly Bolt for the win and in.
Oh, man.
So X and 2 made day 2, so they hit each other, I think, at 7 and 1. The winner made day 2, and I didn't miss much, though. When I went back and looked at it, the Golden Go just kind of 6-0'd them because the Belly Ball player dead drew.
Unfortunate.
And yeah, then I came here on, literally left Sunday in California, got here Monday morning, and then we've just been at it making content since then. And yeah, got some good stuff to show the people that'll be coming out over the next couple months or so. So just been having fun with that. But yeah, nothing crazy. But we have a lot to talk about, especially coming out of Japan Championships, the results as well as the new cards.
Yeah, and we can just go ahead and honestly hop right into it because there is a bunch to talk about this week. And let's start off with those results, like you mentioned. Japan Championships was won by Raging Bolt, a deck that seems to continue to dominate over in Japan Champions Leagues and the Japan Championships as well. And this is a pretty unique list. It is a straight Bolt list, straightforward Raging Bolt, no Noctowls, which has become the norm for this archetype.
Yeah, so definitely a little bit different. And this build specifically maybe has a little bit to do with the time rules in day 2. They played a really weird tournament format. So it was best out of 3 in day 2, but you couldn't tie. Okay. So if you were up 1-0, and let's say the game ended right as you won, they still did their even turn things where the player who went second got one more turn. So if you're up 1-0, then you would win. So say you won on the last turn of the game of time before you even shuffled up for game 2. You would only get 3 match points. Now, if you beat your opponent 2-1, let's say it just naturally concluded without time getting involved, you'd get 4 match points and your opponent would get 1. And if you 2-0 your opponent, you would get 5 match points and your opponent would get 0. So that's definitely weird compared to what we're normally used to. I'm not a big fan of it overall. Like I said, you can't tie. So the other thing that would apply is if you were 1-1 in games, you would go to, like if you completed that before you shuffled up for game 3, you'd go to a sudden death game 3 with both players putting out one prize card, and the first person to draw the prize card wins, or the first person to take a prize lead. So if you like popped Dustnor, you'd shuffle up again for another sudden death, I assume. And then game 2 only counted if a person had drawn 3 or more prize cards, and then at that point, so that game would then count, and then at that point, the person who was ahead on prize cards would win that game. Yeah, so there was no possibility for a potential tie in their rule set, which was interesting. But it definitely favors faster decks, I think, because if you go 1-1, going to game 3, it's either sudden death or who's ever ahead on prize cards wins, right? So I actually talked to Yoshiyuki at NAIC a bit, and he mentioned that Raging Bolt is just really, really good for the format of the tournament. I didn't realize why until I saw that was their format for day 2, and I was like, oh yeah, Raging Bolt seems pretty good. Maybe even better if you don't play the Noctowls and you're built more aggressively for a turn 1 knockout, and that's what takes down the whole thing, which is definitely interesting. But I'm not sure that carries over to like other, like for Worlds, if you're playing Raging Bolt, you're still probably playing Noctowls, basically. Although that is a little ways away.
Yeah, pretty interesting. And there's some interesting stuff in this list that we don't really see very much from Raging Bolts. The Badoo, for one.
Yeah.
Not something we're used to seeing. The Chien Pao is pretty interesting. A lot of people will play like the one-off stadium in the Noctowl builds, usually the Jamming Tower, as a way to kind of clean up your bench a little bit, get rid of the Squawkabilly, maybe something that took a hit, you know, even out the prize trade, take away like a one prize target, I don't know, something like that. And Chien Pao maybe taking that place. And then also the Ditto, which is not crazy to see in a Noctowl build with Fan Rotom, but kind of surprising in this one.
Yeah.
Where they're like, I mean, you can nest ball for Ditto and put it active turn 1, sure, but you could also just like nest ball for the guy you wanted instead of Ditto, right?
Yeah, I guess it's just +1 out to everything, right? So if you just Squawkabilly and you draw a Ditto, it could have been, I don't know, you could have played a 4th Ogre Pawn, but if you want the Badoo, then it becomes Badoo, right? So I have to imagine that's the reason. It is like +1 out to everything on that first turn of the game, which I guess could be pretty impactful for trying to get off that turn 1 attack. The Chien Pao is interesting. Like you said, no Noctowl, so we don't have a way to like just find our trainer cards, but we have Ultra Balls. So the Ultra Ball, you know, can get the Chien Pao, and that becomes like our out to bump our stadium to clean up our bench a little bit. And the Badoo is like specifically really good against other Raging Bolts, actually. So you take away their Prime Catcher from their Noctowl to allow you to get the first 2 prize knockouts. So that's pretty cool as well. So yeah, I mean, everything I think makes sense. There's like the Ditto is like the most questionable card, but like the Ditto, the Chien Pao, or the Badoo and the Chien Pao definitely makes sense, have their home. There's like the one-of Judge in there, which is once again one of those cards that feels like it's really good when you go first, and then you go like turn 2 Judge plus knockout, but it's a one-of, you know, you got to find it. That's going to be a little bit tough to find, of course.
Yeah, we've seen it in the Noctowl builds, and it makes more sense there because you can find it, right?
Yeah.
You can Jewel Seeker for it, but here you just kind of got a couple Pokegears and a lot of will to make it happen. But then in the finals, it did take down Grim Snarl. And the Badoo, or not the Badoo, the Raging Bolt player did have Iron Leaves, which is a piece that you can use in the matchup. I don't know, how it feels like Grim Snarl can have a pretty tough time against Raging Bolt. What's your experience with the matchup?
The match is definitely unfavorable, and actually, like specifically well, it's interesting for these builds specifically, I guess. There is still the Baby Bolt on the side of the Raging Bolt build.
Yeah.
And I guess that is still relevant for like if they get down Snow Run turn 1, but you can always like Team Evo into your Snow Runs. But then you're like a turn behind if you're Team Evo on your turn 2 instead of attacking with Grimmsnarl. But ideally you want to use like Frostlass a lot in the matchup, and you can like kind of even give the Raging Bolt player like 3 prize cards before you do anything. It's a little bit harder to do that when they can Baby Bolt your Frostlass off the bench, though. So this build doesn't have Shaman, but it does have the Maractus, which is also very powerful up against the Raging Bolt matchup, because there's a lot of liabilities usually on the Raging Bolt's benched. They don't play the most amount of mobility cards, especially a build that doesn't have Noctowl. You know, they can't go cherry pick their Prime Catcher out of their deck. And Grimmsnarl does play a lot of stadiums themselves, so they can like bump Area 0 after you already have a full bench, then Maractus something, and then you don't have bench space for Iron Leaves as well. So the Maractus is pretty good against Raging Bolt overall. But Shaman is like another card in this build that is like missing that is also really, really good. But I guess that's kind of the trade-off there. It's like you don't want to play 2 tech cards for the Raging Bolt matchup, so which one do you think is better? If I had to pick between the two, the Maractus is probably the better of the two, so that does make some sense there. And this build as well, the Tatsugiri is also another standout card, I feel like, which is something that I've never been a huge fan of in Grimsnarl because like the bench space is so important in Grimsnarl in so many matchups. But that's one of like Grimsnarl's flaws, I guess you could say, is its lack of draw power on board.
Yeah.
You're kind of playing through the supporters out of the hand every single turn.
Yeah. And then we'll talk about the rest of these decks, but before we get into like the Joltik box here, the other Grimmsnarl, let's actually look at kind of probably the most unique deck that we saw have like pretty decent meta relevance in Japan, and that is the new Jellicent EX alongside Gardevoir. So there was a couple of these, it seemed like on the stream throughout the weekend. There's a handful of them here in the top 32. And it seems like this is actually a contender for a pretty strong archetype in the Worlds format. For those who don't know what the Jellicent does here, 270 HP, Stage 1 Psychic type. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, this is its ability, your opponent can't play any item cards from their hand or attach any tool cards, and then its attack is Power Press 80 plus. If this Pokemon has at least 2 more energy attached to it than required for this attack, it does 80 more damage. So the way that people are playing it is just alongside Gardevoir EX and, of course, Monkey Dory. Got to get that guy in the mix, move the damage over, and, yeah, lock your opponent out of being able to play their most powerful cards.
Yeah, so like the Jellicent specifically is like really strong up against stuff like Raging Bolt and Golden Go. And then kind of the rest of your matchups I feel like come together mostly, the Jellicent can be part of them, but mostly through Team Devo. Like the Grimmsnarl matchup, if they go like Candia Grimmsnarl plus evolve to a Morgrim, and then you go Team Devo them to just Impidimps, they can't attack with a Grimmsnarl next turn if you have Jellicent in the active. So they need some combination of Boss. Probably Countercatcher wouldn't be active at that point, so it have to be like Boss or Iron Bundle. You have 2 Jellicent set up. And that's another reason that the Klefki's in there, because what you can do with the Klefki is you can Monkey Dory a bunch of damage over to your opponent's side of the field, push Klefki in the active, pass, and then your opponent can't use their Monkey Dories to push damage back to your side of the field, and then you Monkey Dory their side of the field again, and then you TM Devo their board. You can do that over multiple turns as well. And there's 2 DM Devos in this list. Are you looking at the list from Reiji? Yeah.
Yes.
So like Reiji played 2, and there was a lot of the notable names that people would recognize who made their way on stream were playing Grimmsnarl or Gardevoir Jellicent. Like Kato, I don't know if Haru was on there, but Yoshiyuki, Daichi, all of them were playing Gardevoir Jellicent or Grimmsnarl, which was interesting. And that kind of makes sense because it feels like Grimmsnarl is maybe one of the decks that has still a good matchup into Gardevoir Jellicent. But I don't know, the double TM Devo plus Klefki stuff makes things weird for sure. It makes things interesting.
Did you feel like you were getting kind of like a sneak peek into what Worlds might look like by watching this weekend?
I guess a little bit, because one of the things, we saw a lot of Raging Bolt in day 1. Like, it seemed like Raging Bolt was maybe, I usually say that like region doesn't matter, and I don't think region does matter for what people play for the most part, but tournament structure I think has more of an influence on what players would possibly bring.
And tournament structure changes by region.
Yeah. So that would influence like specific to a region. But yeah, it's not so much the region. It's not like Japanese players really like playing, I don't know, Raging Ball. It's like their tournament structure kind of forces them more to want to play these kinds of decks. But like stuff like Grimmsnarl and Gardevoir, like I said, notable names that people would recognize from Japan were like playing these decks. And these are decks that I don't think need to be played, like are going to be better in Japan for its format. They just seem like powerful decks, right? So definitely a little bit for sure. I think that is like a little bit into like, okay, these decks, like those are the 2 decks I would look at, probably take away the most from the Japan Championships would be Grimmsnarl and Gardevoir Jellicent. Whereas like the Raging Bolt and kind of Raging Bolt success, I don't write it off, but I'm a little bit less, I guess I give it like a little bit less of a look. I don't look past it, but I'm not as interested in the results from like the Raging Bolt.
We do have a Joltik box here in the top 4.
Yeah, Joltik box snuck in there. I don't think we saw a single Joltik box on stream the whole time. We also didn't see any. Like I said, there was the one Golden Go we saw at the end of day 1. I didn't even watch that game. So I didn't get to see any Genesect EX action. But yeah, so no electric at all. And there's no electric in this Joltik box build either. It's just kind of, the only new card is the Brave Bangle. There is the only new addition to the deck. Plus 30 damage to EX Pokemon if it's attached to a non-EX. So it's for Galvantula, of course. So Galvantula can KO stuff like Ogerpon and Pheasantipede and stuff like that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is basically what people have been running. Nothing crazy, nothing new besides that. But people were already doing like Defiant Span Counter Catcher sometimes as well.
Yeah, it just looks like a very straightforward, consistent, pretty normal list there. And there were a couple interesting things here in the top 8. There's Dragonful Charizard, which isn't, I guess, that interesting. It is Secret Box build, right?
Yep.
Which is what we would come to expect mostly. And the interesting one is Charizard Pidgeot,
Yeah.
a name I have not heard in quite some time.
Well, that's not true. Gabriel Fernandez did just win.
Well,
When-
okay, in seniors, sure. Not to downplay it, but I mean, what's the highest placing Charizard in Masters?
Straight
At
Charizard.
NAIC?
It might have been top 32.
No,
No.
no shot.
How far down are you going?
I'm going, bro. I'm gonna find it and prove my point here. I mean, shout outs to Gabriel, but to be honest, he probably could have won if he was playing with, a deck of bicycle playing cards and a napkin. 217th. Top
217th.
256. Shout outs to Frank Luciano for top 256 at NAIC with Charizard Pidgeot. So yes, Charizard Pidgeot, not a deck that we see all that often in the current meta.
No.
But yeah, here it is. We've seen it in Japan's metas in the past. I think like in the last Champions League, right? We saw a couple of these. Not the expanded one. Popping up there into the top 16, right? Yeah, there was.
Oh yeah, it was super.
top
Charizard
4.
did super well. Yeah,
Yeah.
at the last Champions League.
But never translated over to our format. But it is still chilling here in the top 8 of the Japan Championships, their flagship event of the year.
Yeah, playing the Dusknoir, has the Chi-Yu in there. Only 3 Charmander. I guess that's still probably fine, to be honest. TM Evo and Cleffa, no Badoo. It's hard to find time to use that. So yeah. Charizard making its way in there. I'm still not super hype on Charizard, but there might be a little bit more there to go. It still feels like there's a decent amount undiscovered in this format.
Sure. Yeah, a couple things undiscovered are these players' decks, as there's a couple players here who we don't have the deck list information for, but one that is really cool, and I know a card that you're really excited for, Azul, from Black Bolt White Flare, is Golden Go with the new Genesect EX here.
Yeah, and this build is like pretty interesting. You have the Genesect EX in there. It finds your Evolution Metal Pokemon. So you can find, it turns a Nest Ball into 2 Golden Go EX, or in this build specifically, they also have the Caesar. No Revavroom, which is something that I'm sure a lot of people thought of, including myself, as being like a cool potential inclusion. But besides that, even with the lack of Revavroom, this build is still pretty interesting. So it's got a 1/1 Caesar in there for like a little bit of one prize possibility. You got the Genesects in there. But then you get to the supporter count, things get interesting. It's still playing for Arven, but there's no TM Evo in here, which makes sense because you have Genesect. So you're up to 4 Nest Ball, 4 Buddy Puffin, no Ultra Ball, no TM Evo. But there's 3 Air Balloon. You got to find something off your Arven, I guess. I mean, the mobility sounds pretty cool for the Genesects as well, because they do have 2 retreat cost. And then there's 4 Boss's Orders and 2 Turo Scenario. Turo does seem very powerful with Genesect, especially if you play the Caesar, because you can go from a 2 prize board state to like a like a 1 prize board state potentially. Like Genesect in play early, they knock out your first Golden Go, you evolve Scyther to Caesar, you Turo up your Genesect, and then you just like Caesar plus a bunch of Gimme Ghouls or something, which can be cool. And then you can go put Golden Go or put Genesect back down, find your Golden Goes on the next turn, and keep going from there. The 4 boss, I feel like has to be a tech against Jellicent though, because that's how Guardy's probably beaten Golden Go pretty easily. Is just like feeding back-to-back Jellicents. And then make it impossible for the Golden Go player to either find their energy initially or recover it with the superior. We see there's a Lavencia in here as well, so there's a little bit of recovery under item lock. But I have to imagine that's like this build is in here built to beat that specifically, but also like the way you prize trade into Raging Bolt, boss is also pretty good for that as well. So I could see that being the reason. Another really cool thing about the Genesect, honestly, in Golden Go is you can like play a full 1 prize board on that first turn of the game against Raging Bolt and feel pretty safe. Like you can put down 4 Gimme Ghouls and pass. And then they go knockout and you can go, okay, Genesect, Golden Goes, Counter Catcher, Energy Search Pro, knock out a 2 prizer off the bench, and then like boss 2 prizer, boss 2 prizer. So in the Raging Bolt matchup as well, the boss are pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, this build is pretty sick, to be honest. And I'm excited. Golden Go seems like it got really powerful with Genesect. We didn't really see that translate to the results at the Japan Championship specifically, but you know, plenty of meta to be, or plenty of format to be played still. So
Yes.
I'm excited to see what else Golden Go can do.
Still plenty undiscovered as well. And then other than that, some more of the Gardevoir Jellicents, like you said. Some just probably small differences in these lists, I would imagine.
That one only has one TM Devo.
Yeah. And then the other unique deck here in the top 32 is Archaladon.
Yeah,
With Venture Bomb
Yeah.
and Monkey Dory. What the heck?
And this actually might be the exact same list. They actually streamed the finals of juniors and seniors, and I actually just don't remember. There was an Archaladon in the finals in seniors. I think they maybe won it. I don't actually remember. I think they won. I think the Archaladon player maybe won.
We don't have the results here on Limitless.
But this looks very similar to the list that made the finals in seniors. They had the Hero's Cape, they had the Venture Bombs, they had the Watchtowers, Monkey Dories. Yeah, this looks super, super similar. This might actually be the exact same 60 that made it to the finals in seniors.
Very interesting. So the Venture Bomb lines up nicely into like Raging Bolt, right?
Yep. Can actually beat Raging Bolt with them.
And if you flip tails, you just move the damage over with the Monkey Dory, in theory, right?
Yeah.
And
Whiffing energy attachments is tough, but if you don't whiff energy attachments, then yeah, you can chain the attacks.
Yeah, and this is a deck you can definitely do that with, right? Because Archaladon is so self-sufficient because it pulls energy from the discard pile to itself. So yeah, that's actually pretty interesting, to be honest. I can see that being decent.
The two Monkey Dories should give you a decent time against Dragapult and Grimmsnarl as well. That is what they...
Hero's Cape also.
That is what the seniors finals was. It was Grimmsnarl versus the Archaladon. And then the Hero's Cape, yeah, you get really big. I mean, finding that is a little bit of an issue, but as long as you can find it eventually, that definitely makes things tough for Dragapult and Grimmsnarl, especially when you have the backup. Specifically in the Grimmsnarl matchup, it's awkward for them because they want to set up Frostlass, but they kind of can't, because if they do, then you can Rage return KO a Grimmsnarl after it punches an Archaladon. So the Archaladon player, they have 4 Night Stretcher and Iron Bundle. So and unless you set up 2 Grimmsnarl fast, they're just going to bundle around your Grimmsnarl over and over and over again. So you can't get the Monkey Dory value, and then just KO stuff off the bench until they eventually punch a Grimmsnarl. But at that point, you might not have enough Monkey Dories to actually take advantage of that damage. So the bundle's really crucial in that one.
And those are the unique decks from the Japan Championships. So we did do a couple of predictions leading into the event. So let's see how we did on those. First one would be, what was the highest placing black and white card from the 2 new sets? You said Silver Bengal or Brave Bengal. I said Air Balloon. And this top 4 list did have both of them.
The list in the finals as well did, yeah.
But the second place list had the Air Balloon. So your boy gets the dub here.
I was hoping the Bangle was going to be paired with Typhlosion, making it for further. But I guess I'm not surprised to see it in the Draw Tick Box decks. It does make sense in there instead of the Defiance ban that people had been running. So, yeah, unlucky on that one. Never Typhlosion.
Then next up, we did pick a player to make top cut. You picked Haru. I picked Tord. And neither of our players made it in quite. Tord did get, I think, top 64, I saw over on...
Yeah.
Oh, no, Haru's right here. What am I saying?
Yeah, Haru's close, but not quite top cut.
Was it not top 16 this time?
It's top 8, yeah.
Okay.
That's my understanding. I guess I don't know for sure, but it would make sense. They actually didn't stream any of Masters top cut because they showed Junior Finals, Senior Finals, and then Master Finals after the last round of Master Swiss.
Yeah.
So we didn't really see any top cut, but it would make sense for it to be top 8 because top 8, top 4 during both of the finals. And that's what... Noah put on chat or put on Twitter as well. When he's the one who posted the breakdown of how the tournament structure was, and he was there. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I think it was a top 8.
Well, Haru did make it in, or not quite into top cut, but he did make it farther than Tord did, my pick. But Tord had a pretty good showing, which is cool.
Yep.
Non-Japanese player going over and getting a top 64 finish. And then finally, pick a deck to win. What the heck were you doing? Ethan's Typhlosion. Azul really went off the deep end here.
I was rooting on the Silver Bangle as well.
It's Brave Bangle.
You put Silver Bangle on the thing, on the doc.
I did put Silver Bangle in our document, but that's because that's what you called it.
I just read it off the doc right now.
Oh my gosh. And then I picked Dragapult, which was not a great choice either. There is a Dragapult Charizard here in the top 8. Straight Pults, there's a couple of them in the top 32, it looks like.
I don't think it's a terrible... That's what Tord played day 1. I think he played Pult into Charizard. He was trying to, I think he tweeted out, he played straight Pult. I think it may be his same list from NAIC is what he said.
Yeah.
And then he switched to Charizard as like a meta call into all the Raging Bolt and Gardevoir. But he said the TM Devos make things, the double TM Devo in the Gardevoir decks with the Jellicent makes things a little bit more difficult than
Dude,
he
what
probably
the heck?
thought.
Tort's got the gold Plasma Freeze Ultra Balls in Japanese, balling out like that.
It's pretty sick.
I have no idea. Those are like $500 in English. I have no idea how much they are in Japanese, if it's like more or less for those things.
It's usually less, I feel like, but it's still probably pretty expensive.
And then, yeah, I did play the Charizard, which, I mean, it does make sense as a meta call. I feel like its Grimmsnarl matchup is not terrible, right?
It's pretty bad.
It's bad for Charizard?
Yeah. Grimmsnarl just doesn't have to attack. They just sit there and set up Frostlass. If you, yeah, basically as a Grimmsnarl player, you just don't draw prize cards. I think you TMD with them.
Interesting.
Because there's no way for Charizard to pressure you besides punch your Grimmsnarl, and you could feed them 3 Grimmsnarls while they punch them, and then just Monkey Dory a bunch of damage over. You like if they punch you with Charizard, you punch them back, but you don't draw any prize cards, or draw very few prize cards as the game progresses.
Okay.
I mean, it looks like Tord had 3 boss, but it's only gonna net you so many prize cards, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and Grimmsnarl is usually the faster deck, so they can get a Grimmsnarl in the active before you can draw like that first prize card, and things can fall apart from there.
All right, well, as always in these Japanese tournaments, there are typically new cards revealed, and that is the case as well here for the Japan Championships. Mega Brave and Mega Symphonia revealed in Japanese, and lots of interesting things here. Obviously, the Mega Pokemon returning. We already have seen the Gardevoir and the Lucario. Other thing to note for... I know Azul does not care about this, but there are full art item cards coming out, which is pretty unique. These cards in high rarity have typically just been gold, right?
Yeah.
So they're full art, which I think is like, it just adds a little more color, right? It can be a little, I don't know, I like the look of gold stuff like in general, but in a Pokemon deck, whenever every single item card is gold, they all just like bleed together and don't look like anything unique, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm definitely glad to see that. I mean, this is definitely like a huge upgrade visually for like people who are when you're watching on stream. If someone's got a fully blinked out deck, or even playing against people.
Yeah.
Like the amount of times on PTCGO, I would mistake a rainbow Pokemon on my opponent's bench, like when bossing or like spreading damage.
Yeah.
Was like pretty high to be honest. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the gold or the rainbows. There's no nothing unique about them. There's no character to them. It's like the same thing as the other card. But yeah, these ones are definitely a massive upgrade for that. Not just in terms of visually or how they look in general, but also just like for, you know, when people are actually trying to watch a game, you can actually tell what's going on a little bit better, which is nice.
Well, let's get into some of these cards. Worth noting, this is going to be the start of a new block. Like, these are not Scarlet and Violet cards. It'll be like I guess it's like a mega block is what it's going to be called, right? Yeah, like yeah, we see the word mega featured pretty prominently here.
Yeah.
I'm predicting that this is going to be kind of like similar to like Heart Gold Soul Silver, where it's probably a year or so of these mega sets while Legend ZA comes out, and then eventually we'll get into whatever the new Pokemon generation will be. I mean, timeline-wise, who knows exactly when it'll be? Probably
End of
26, end of next year, yeah. So maybe start of 2027 will be in the new generation for the TCG.
When does the ZA come out at the end of this year?
ZA comes out at the end of this year, yes.
Okay.
Which lines up with the release of these mega cards.
Yeah, I get, that would all make sense. And it is like a little bit of a weird spot because I feel like we usually get 12 sets a block, but we're at number 10 right now, and now it's like switching over, so it feels like a little bit of like a, I don't know, transition period.
Yeah. So let's start by looking at these cards. And first off, for anyone who missed out on it with Mega Pokemon, they're just evolutions, right? So Venusaur, there's no Venusaur here. It's Ivysaur straight into Mega Venusaur.
Yeah.
Different from the old versions of Mega Pokemon where it was Venusaur EX into Mega Venusaur EX. There's no like Spirit Links or anything like that. You just evolve straight up like a regular Pokemon. Which, I don't know, it feels like Mega Pokemon lore-wise are like more unique than just regular Pokemon, so I kind of wish there was something a little bit different there, you know what I mean?
Just being bigger.
Yeah, just being bigger. And that's what they are. They're big,
Yeah.
high HP. They do give up 3 prize cards, but yeah, they just made them all big boys.
Yeah, so I would like to say it's like, I mean, yeah, there's nothing crazy. I would probably call it like a new mechanic in the game, 3 prize Pokemon, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Anything that's a mega is worth of 3 prizes. So, but yeah, it's nothing crazy for anyone. For the new people, newer players in the game, yeah, there's nothing special about them besides that it's called a Mega Pokemon. It's worth 3 prize cards. For the people who are older in the game, no, there's no tool card that you need to evolve into your Mega Pokemon.
Yeah.
And yeah, it all evolves up through the same line. Like you can evolve an Ivysaur into a Venusaur or a Mega Venusaur EX. You can play 4 Mega Venusaur EX and 4 Venusaur on your deck, but you can only play 4 Ivysaur and 4 Bulbasaur, but they all evolve up through the pre-evolution.
Yeah, you can play 4 Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and then 4 Mega Venusaur EX. You can play 4 Venusaur EX, and you can play 4 regular Venusaur. You can get the whole squad in there if you wanted to. But yeah, let's look at this first one. Mega Venusaur EX, Solar Trans as the ability. As many times as you like during your turn, you may move a basic grass energy from one of your Pokemon to another of your Pokemon, and then its attack name is Jungle Dump. Yep, that is its name. 4 grass energy, 240 damage, heal 30 damage from this Pokemon. And I'll just scroll down and read kind of one of the synergetic cards with it. While we're talking about it, we do have a new supporter reveal here with the Wally's Compassion. Heal all damage from one of your Mega Evolution Pokemon EX if you do put all energy attached to that Pokemon back into your hand. So I think the obvious combo here, right? You've got this big, massive Venusaur EX with 4 energy on it that is really difficult to KO. It takes a hit, you move all the energy off to something else, you use the Wally, you heal this guy, you move the energy back on, you keep swinging, right?
Yeah, another thing you could do would be to return all the energy to your hand and then have a bunch of Ogre Pawns on your bench.
Yeah.
Re-accelerate the energy to play, move it all to Venusaur. And actually, I guess one thing worth mentioning, we'll go through the rest of the lines, some of these evolutions as well. The HP is a little bit higher. Bulbasaur's got 80, can't Buddy Poffin for it. Ivysaur's got 110. So I think with these, we're maybe seeing a little bit of pre-evolution power creep with this set. Because I feel like the Ivysaur specifically, like Bulbasaur being 80 or 70, probably is suggesting they want you to be able to Poffin for it or not, right?
Yeah, I feel like this is the biggest Bulbasaur we've ever seen. We've seen 70s, we've never seen an 80 Bulbasaur.
Yeah, so I feel like the 80 and 70 HP for the basic Pokemon really just comes down to, do they want you to be able to Buddy Poffin for these cards? But I guess we do have a 70 HP Bulbasaur in the format still.
We do, yes.
Interesting. So maybe they just want to give you a tankier option.
Yeah, and I mean, they're thinking about in the time frame of, when this card is printed, right? So, like, sure, you'll be able to Buddy Poffin for it right now, but this is a G regulation mark set. This one is all the way up to I, right?
So, so the 71 rotate. Oh, wait, rotates. Not with Poffin will still be legal, but the 71 will rotate, right?
Correct.
Okay, interesting. But yeah, Ivysaur has 110. It's a little bit more HP, I feel like. So it's like pre-evolution power creep, but also the Bulbasaur's attack is actually pretty good. We do have Relicanth in the format. It's got the bind down, 10 damage, and your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. So, I mean, if you got something you're active with 380 HP, maybe 480 if we get a Hero Escape involved, and then you got Relicanth bind downing something in the active, that could be another way to play the Venusaur, to be honest. They finally get their active Pokemon unstuck, and then they're not even KOing the active, and then maybe you hit them with that willpower as well.
Yeah, I can honestly see the Venusaur being okay. It obviously takes a lot to get to this point, but, dude, 380 is just so much.
That's a lot.
And then, yeah, the Ogre Pawn combo you mentioned. Now, putting Ogre Pawns on your bench does leave, like, easy potential targets for 2 prizes each, right? But you can make an unkillable Venusaur, for sure.
Yeah, and I think with this card as well, we could even look a little bit further ahead. When rotation hits, as of right now, I'm just assuming Boss's Orders rotates until we know different. So Boss's Orders rotates, there's less gust effects to get around something that's the active Pokemon, right? Yeah. That makes playing like tank decks all of a sudden more viable.
We've seen Gardevoir EX. We're not going to go into detail on Mega Gardevoir EX or Mega Lucario because we have already seen these cards. A new one, though, is Hariyama here with the ability Sumo Catcher. Once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon, or play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon with their active Pokemon. It is Hops Double 2.0.
Yeah, so they're giving us even more non-boss gust. This is in the form of a Pokemon. We have had, what is the supporter recently that we had come out that's a gust effect? Well, we had Giovanni's, but not Giovanni's.
Yeah, there's Licia's Appeal.
Yeah, Licia's Appeal. Now we're getting another Pokemon Gust. This one specifically doesn't. Someone pointed this out in the comment section on one of my videos. It doesn't get shut down by Hops or by Watchtower, whereas Hops Double does.
Sure.
But it does feel a little weird that they are giving this alongside Hops Double's existence so close. I'm predicting they're going to give us a fighting Pokemon search card, like maybe a Karina supporter that we've had in the past, or some kind of item Pokemon search for fighting Pokemon.
Well,
that's my prediction.
There is Hilda, right, coming out in Black-White set, right?
It still finds double, though.
But it finds. So what I saw someone, I think it might have been Jake Gearhart actually tweet.
Yeah, I saw this too.
Hilda plus Hariyama plus reversal energy. That's a combo right there to KO 210 HP stuff, Like
That is a combo, yeah. And maybe
know?
that's what they're looking at. That could be what they wanted. They're like, let's give these Gust Pokemon a little bit more usability besides just being a Evolve plus Gust. But then it feels weird that they printed Hops Dubwool at all.
Like 2 sets ago as
yeah,
well.
like just wait till the Hariyama then at that point. So, well, yeah, we'll see what else comes with it. And the one thing to say with these cards as we're going through them, this is not that much revealed.
Yes.
And these already seem like pretty decent stuff to be looking at. There's a lot more in this set for sure. I don't know if we know exactly how many cards are in this set. Is it like 60 and 60 or something for the Japanese sets?
Yeah,
We're looking at
60 and
120.
60.
So there's still going to be some good stuff revealed, I'm sure. We haven't seen all the good stuff yet.
And there's the Lucario. Now, I think something everyone was kind of holding their breath about was, all right, how big are the basic tag team, or not tag team, sorry, the
Mega.
basic Mega Pokemon going to be? And we do have Mega Latias EX here. And yeah, this is a pretty interesting one. So, Strafe for 40 damage, just for a colorless. You may switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. And then Mirage Pulse, 300 damage. Discard all energy from this Pokemon. But it does have a synergetic partner here with Latios. Its ability Luster Assist. Once during your turn, when your Mega Latias moves from the bench to the active spot, you may move any number of energy from your benched Pokemon to that active Pokemon. I've seen a lot of different combos pointed out there, but there's kind of a decent amount of ways that you can make this thing just do 300 damage on turn 1 of the game for really not that big of an investment, it feels like.
Yeah, Ho-Oh EX seems like the most obvious partner. Ho-Oh or Ethan's Ho-Oh EX can accelerate 2 fire to itself. You attach Psychic Return, put your Mega Latias into the EX into the active with a switch or an air balloon or whatever. You can play your own Latias EX, but then your bench maybe gets a little cramped at that point. I don't love the idea of Latias EX in the deck, but whatever it might be, you pull all the energy together, 300 damage. Putting this in like Dragapult could be cool as well as like a finisher.
Sure.
It allows Dragapult to draw prize cards a little bit more aggressively. Of course, Dragapult does have Ursaluna, but it wouldn't be able to hit quite as hard into stuff like other Dragapults and things like that.
And this can hit earlier than Ursaluna can as well.
Yeah, true. So yeah, if you go for like an aggressive knockout, take a KO, spread some damage, they come back at you with their Dragapult, and you're just like, all right, cool, air balloon, retreat to Latias, 1-hit KO, and then you just get so far ahead the game just over from there. So that could be like a cool.
It does require
combo.
2 bench spaces to do that, though, right? You do need Latias and Latios in play.
Yeah, so it require a little bit more there.
Could be a worthwhile trade-off, though.
Yeah, heavy hitter. It does need to figure out its numbers against like bigger Pokemon like the Dragapult and stuff like that. Like I'm sure there's something you could play that maybe fits in between there. Even using the Ho-Oh, if you play it with Ethan's Ho-Oh EX, like you could punch something with Ethan's Ho-Oh EX first, and then clean up with that later or something. I don't know. I'm sure we'll figure it out. This is one of those things though when we look at it. My prediction would be that this is not going to be good. We'll see.
Yeah.
But that would be my prediction. Unless it can fix that 30 damage to be able to kill stuff like Dragapults and Charizards.
I mean, there's Gravity Mountain, right?
True, that is true. But then we have stuff like Mega Gardevoir EX got 360, the Venusaur 380.
Sheesh.
As soon as we're not 1-hit KOing these things, we're probably running into trouble.
Yeah, I also don't think this card seems like it'll be that good, but there is a lot of different things that it can do in theory, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then, we'll get into some trainers here, and there's some pretty dang good ones. We'll start off with probably the least exciting one, just Mega Signal here. Search your deck for one Mega Evolution Pokemon EX, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Seems like a pretty decent search card to me.
Yeah, it'll be like a cool one-of in if you play Arvin.
Right.
Maybe Drayton, if Drayton starts seeing the light of day. Or like if you somehow end up with a Mega Evolution deck that plays Noctowl, then this would fit in that. Otherwise, Ultra Ball is probably going to be the better choice. So,
I mean, if there's ever, like, more basic Mega Evolution Pokemon that are stronger, right? I mean, this is like a card, because we're going to get multiple sets of Mega Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
So this is a card that...
We definitely could see some future use, for sure.
Yeah. It reminds me of, like, Cherish Ball or something like that, right? That Cherish Ball a little bit more universal, right?
Cherish Ball was kind of ridiculous. Yeah, that card was...
This is more like Team Plasma Ball or something, Like, there were decks that played 2 or 3 Team Plasma Ball. I could see there being decks that played, like, a couple of these, for sure. Like... Reliant that like your main guy is a Mega Evolution guy.
Yeah, definitely.
Then we read the Wallies. These last 2 cards, man, these last 2 cards are pretty crazy. So first off, Lily's Determination, supporter card. Shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 6 cards. Okay, that's a good effect. We've seen that card effect a few times over the years. It's always been pretty good.
Yeah.
But then there's more.
But wait.
If you have 6 prize cards remaining, draw 8 instead.
This is actually an insane. This is a whole new level of consistency in a supporter. I don't think we've. This is like. I guess like it's arguable that depending on the archetype, research is better.
Sure.
Right. +1 card. You cycle your deck more aggressively. But just on average, Lily's Determination is just absolutely absurd. And I hope there are more aggressive options that are maybe more punishing than research, but a bigger trade-off to go with it to kind of compete against Lily's Determination. Because this card is absolutely insane for decks like Gardevoir, like Dragapult. The shuffle, like you're already not drawing prize cards for the first 2 to 3 turns of the game. Drawing 8 cards and not sacrificing any resources at the same time potentially is huge. That's like such a big deal. So I almost like want to see something. I don't even know how you'd make a draw supporter more aggressive than research, but like I almost want to see something more aggressive than research to kind of match this in terms of like risk versus reward type draw power. Because if you're playing something like I'm trying to like think of a deck right now, or I guess like more situated like you know Raging Bolt's not a research deck, or it wouldn't be a Lily's Determination deck either. It's a Sada's deck, so maybe that'll always like fit that role as like more niche supporters like those will always kind of fit that role. But yeah, this is an absolutely absurd card. Like we had the format with Lilies and Cynthia's where you played 4 Lily and 4 Cynthia in basically every single deck.
Yeah.
I mean, moving forward, I don't expect many decks to play research. I think they'll play 4 Lilies and 4 Iono. So a lot of shuffle draw coming up once this drops until Iono rotates. So
yeah, research rotates as well, right?
Yeah. So this kind of fills the void of just like the neutral draw supporter.
I mean, this type of card is much more powerful, I feel like, in research in a lot of Stage 2 decks.
Yeah.
Like this, I feel like, is way better in Dragapult than research is, right?
Yep. And in Charizard, right?
But probably not in like Gardevoir, right? You want to be kind of aggressive getting through your
That's
deck
fair.
and with your discards with something like Gardevoir, right?
Definitely reasonable.
But a lot more of the slower, long game type decks like this card is. I mean, think about like the old Tropical Beach decks, right? This is kind of what this feels like almost, even though like it's not going to end your turn, right? Because you just see so many more cards, man. It's pretty crazy. And speaking of seeing more cards...
Yeah, I was going to say, with this next card you're about to read, I don't know, there's an argument that you might not be playing research, for sure. But you might not be playing Determination either. It might just go to Arvin Ionos, because this card's insane.
Mystery Garden, a new stadium card. Once during each player's turn, that player may discard 1 energy card from their hand. If they do, that player draws cards until they have as many cards in hand as they have psychic Pokemon in play. A stadium card that can draw you 6 cards on your turn, potentially. I think that this may be the most powerful stadium card they've ever printed.
It's got to be up there, right? And I think like, the Spikemuth gym is, like, already, I feel like one of the most powerful stadiums of all time, it feels like. It's just such a powerful stadium. Obviously, it only works
Spikemuth is very good, but there's so many. I mean, think about, like, Forest and Broken Time Space and Skyfield and Parallel City, like Dimension Valley, like these cards go, there's so many broken stadiums over the years. This one is up there, though, with those I just mentioned, I feel like.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, whenever people bring Broken Time Space, I was like, I don't know, when I played back then, it was just a stadium. Like, it never felt like it had high impact on games, because, like, the Stage 2 decks would just literally be unplayable without it. But, yeah, like the other ones you mentioned, definitely carry over a little bit more. And yeah, it's definitely going to be good. And it brings up so many, like we're getting Mega Gardevoir, we're getting the Stadium, we're getting Lily's Determination. Gardevoir has so many tools when the set drops. So many new tools.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if you're going to use all of them. I don't know, like I said, like if you have the Stadium in there, Iono plus Arvin seems like, because now they have the draw power to supplement your Arvins with like the Mystery Garden. It's like, do we want to play Research? Do we really want to play Lily's Determination? If we already want to, like Arvin plus the Stadium sounds like such a good combo.
Now, there's a couple potential issues with this card. Early game, it's a bit weaker until you get a bunch of Pokemon in play.
That's true.
A lot of the Gardevoir decks, play Artisan because you need to get a lot of Pokemon in play. It can be kind of hard to fill your board with Pokemon. But you also don't always want to board lock yourself. So having a full bench of 5 plus your active Pokemon 6, like you don't always want to be drawing 6.
Your board becomes predictable. Your opponent can make plays around that.
We did have cards like, we had Scorched Earth, right? A stadium card that discarded energy from your hand to draw cards. It was okay, right? There were some decks that it was pretty good in, Scorched Earth. But then you also had like Heat Factory Prism Star. that card was very good.
That
The
was a good
difference
one.
between 2 and 3 cards here, very, very big. And I feel like on average, this is going to be getting you at least 3, like if you count in like early game versus late game. And in the late game, this is going to be getting you 4 or 5 cards a lot of the time. If you
Yeah.
build your deck in a way you can play your hand down consistently.
Yeah, and I mean, like if you're gonna play this, your deck's gonna be built around it. You're gonna play 4 Vessel, 4 Ultra Ball, probably, right? So you can cycle your hand plus cycle your deck more aggressively to get your energy. Maybe we see like a higher Poffin count come back to be able to more aggressively get your Waltz into play. But Poffin, as we've seen from lists, people haven't been playing super high counts because it's a pretty low value card, especially if like Jealousy becomes the way to play it. The Frillish has 80 HP,
Yeah.
so you can't even find him with that. So Garbo decks will definitely have to adjust. But I don't even think I wouldn't be surprised to see it kind of change how builds are played. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see like maybe Mystery Guard not be played at a certain point in the metagames. Like it seems like the best build doesn't play it, and then we go to the best build might not even play Mega Gardevoir, and then all of a sudden Mega Gardevoir's being included, and it's just so many options, so many tools that it already has. Like we already see lists like the Bradner list not playing Drifloon, right, or Bravery Charm, 4 Monkey Dory, 4 Dark Energy. And then we see Japan, they got the Jellicent in there now, and they're not playing Drifloon as well, but they're not playing 4 Monkey Dory, 4 Dark. They have Double Team Devo. It's just, dude, has a deck ever had this many options? Like, of different ways you can build it, and every build seems to be tier 1.
It does seem pretty good. Now, we are, in theory, going to have, what, like 6 months of this, right? Before rotation.
Yeah.
Gardevoir will rotate out. But even, like, thinking ahead into the future, like, Mega Gardevoir EX, sure, it's going to be very good when Gardevoir EX also exists.
Yep.
But this card is, like, good enough to be good without Gardevoir EX, I feel like, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
It basically needs, it feels like to check it, it needs a dark Pokemon to exist. But yeah, turn 2 Mega Gardevoir. Load up everyone with energy and play, and then you're just 1 KO and everything.
we just got to wait
that,
for
right?
Mega Absol, bro. Whatever that guy does is going to destroy Gardevoir, for sure.
Also, Wally's Compassion synergizes with Mystery Garden, because you put the energy back in your hand, then you cycle it. I don't know, there could be something there as well.
True.
Yeah, man. I mean, things are looking good for Gardevoir players. If you're a longtime enjoyer, if you're not yet, maybe it's a good time to get on the train. Just, you know, these next 7 months, if you're looking for what is probably going to be a tier 1, at worst, tier 2 deck until Gardevoir EX rotates, unless they reprint it.
I do wonder if this will be one of those things where, like, I feel like this happens sometimes where you'll look back in time at, like, a format and be like, man, that card was just so broken. Why did I ever play anything besides that deck? You know what I mean? I wonder if people will look back in 5 years and be like, man, in 22, 23, 24, why did I ever play anything besides Gardevoir EX?
I mean, Gardevoir has been, I think at its worst, maybe it's been tier 3 at some points, but
Yeah.
most of the time it's been tier 2, tier 1. Tier 1 right now for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's a good argument to have been playing it since the card dropped.
Yep.
All the way back then. As long as you're, I mean, if you're not at the forefront of the innovation, it's a little bit different. You have to make sure you're, you know, you want to be one of the people playing the new way to play the deck, but as long as you're doing something different, something new, or copying the Brixty, then you're probably been in a pretty good spot the whole time.
All right, Azul, well, it is time for us to move on to Guess That Flavor Text. But before we do, we got to take a moment to thank our fantastic sponsor, Dragon Shield, for supporting us here at the Uncommon Energy Podcast. Of course, Dragon Shield makes some of the best card gaming and tabletop gaming products on the market. We love them mostly for the sleeves. That's our go-to for all tournaments we play. I have recently been a huge fan of the Mint Classics. That's what I'm going to be recommending today. I love the feel of the Classics. If you like to riffle shuffle, not like it feels. Oh, this is just the mats, but the Classics, like, it just feels so good.
The
You got any
Classics
color you've been
definitely-
enjoying recently?
One of my go-tos is always the magentas. I prefer the mats personally. As far as, yeah, if you are a riffle shuffler, the classics do feel, I don't know, like more snappy.
Yeah.
I don't even know the way to say it, but that is how they feel. If you're a mass shuffler, definitely recommend the mats. I'm a mass shuffler personally.
Yep.
But yeah, you can't go wrong. Dragon Shield's got it all. Of course, if you're a dual mat enjoyer, they have it all over at Dragon Shield. So be sure to go check them out. Shout out to them, as always, for sponsoring the podcast. Links will be in the description. Check them out, dragonshield.com. You can use our code, UEPOD, UEPOD. Get yourself 5% off, and of course, directly support us here on the podcast.
Now it is time, Azul, for Guess That Flavor Text, where each week you or I picks a card reads the flavor text from it, and has the other host try to guess which Pokemon is featured on that card.
All right, just don't turn around because I have it pulled up.
I won't. We do keep score. I am currently in the lead, 37 to 32. Looking to extend that this week, as it is your turn to pick a card for me. And yeah, we keep score. If you get it right without using any lifelines, you get 4 points. For each lifeline you use, you do lose one of those points. And the lifelines are what set the card is from, what stage the card is, and read an attack name.
All right, Chip, you ready for this week's flavor text?
I am ready.
It cares deeply for its companions. When its trainer is feeling down, it performs a cheery dance to try and help.
Oh, dude, I feel like... Have we read this one before?
Have we?
It sounds familiar.
Maybe I should check. Hold up. Now that you said it, I'm like, wait, have we?
It sounds familiar. Are you going to double check?
It doesn't. No, I don't think we have.
All right, read it one more time.
And let me go through them real fast.
Maybe I've just read it before. Or sometimes people come up to me at events and be like, and ask me flavor texts. It just sounds familiar. I don't know.
It cares deeply for its companions. When its trainer is feeling down, it performs a cheery dance to try and help.
Performs a cheery dance. Deeply for its companions. So, I mean, that makes me think of like a Delcatty or maybe a Sylveon, something like that. But I don't know that those Pokemon are really dancing that much. I could maybe see Delcatty dancing, I guess. Yeah, definitely almost feels like a house pet type Pokemon. Maybe even like Skitty or something like that. Let's start with what set the card is from. I will use some lifelines here.
Lost Thunder.
Okay, so that's like the Zeraora GX set. That's what Lost March is in that set. I think there is a Delcatty in that set. I'm pretty sure the Delcatty we played in GLC was in that set, in the control deck. What stage is the card?
Stage 1.
Oh, man. I kind of just want to lock in the Delcatty. Let me just have you read the attack name. I'm already ahead, so I don't need the points. Let's have you read an attack name and see if it helps me anymore.
Captivate.
Yeah, that just sounds like... Oh, wait. That does kind of low-key sound more like Sylveon. Captivate. Or No, it's Delcatty, dude. It's got to be Delcatty. No, I don't think that's what the Delcatty's attack is. I think the Delcatty... It's like 2 energy for 40 damage. Is it Captivate? That doesn't sound like what Captivate would do. I can't remember if there's a Sylveon in that set. Those are like the 2 Pokemon I'm between. Captivate does sound more like a Delcatty attack. I can picture the Delcatty that's in... I'm pretty sure it's Delcatty in that set. I guess I could be... Maybe it's in like... Ultra Prism or something like that? Dude. I'm just going to go with the Delcatty. It was my initial thought. I'm going to lock it in. Delcatty.
It is not Delcatty.
Is it Sylveon?
No.
Okay.
It is Brione. Brione?
Brione. It is Brione. Oh, dude.
Brione.
This card is in my freaking cube, man.
Oh, maybe that's why you know it.
That is gotta be why I know it. And I know that attack name, too. Dang it, dude. Yeah, I mean...
Isn't it supposed to be like a circus Pokemon or something?
Yeah, it's like a seal, right? Popplio, yeah. Primarina.
And like, yeah, the Primarina's like all like kind of dressed up looking.
Huh. Yeah, that is a bummer. I feel like the Captivate. Yeah, let me look at the Delcatty.
The Delcatty does like 60 for 2, I think. I don't remember.
I think it's 40 for 2. Yeah, and it's Cat Kick. It is from Celestial Storm. It is not from Lost Thunder. That's a bummer. And look at this, dude. This guy's got Captivating Tail baiting me right here. Unfortunate.
For a second, I thought maybe I had asked that one before, but I did check the spreadsheet. Shout out again to Timmy Games. Yeah, Brione was never guessed before.
That was a hard one, but I feel like I could have gotten it, to be honest.
Well, that's what I thought at first, because it sounded like when I read it, I was like, oh, this is like, these characteristics sound like very unique. if there's something in the video game, you run into like some trainer and their Brion is dancing next to them. It's like,
Oh my gosh.
they're just like, oh yeah, in Pokemon Black, when you go into the trainer in the forest, when you take 2 rights, and then on the left there's this trainer hiding in a bush, and they have their Brion dances.
That would have been impressive because Brione did not exist
In Pokemon Black and
in
White?
Pokemon Black and White.
Well, it would have been something like that. You've had like a Jimmy Neutron Brain Blast, and then like, I remember being 4 years old.
Oh my gosh. All right, well, let's move on to our final topic today, and that is new season
updates?
information. So we've got information about the new season, but before we get into that, a little update, something we talked about last week. So we mentioned last week that there were a bunch of players who it seemed like they were tied for 125th in North America, like 7 people with 700 points or something like that. Was it even more than 7 people? It was a lot of
There's
people
7 or 8, yeah.
tied for 125th place, and it seemed like there was going to be some sort of tiebreaker in place using play points that would mean that not everyone would get their invite to Worlds, but Austin Charles, who was one of those people at 700 points, did post today at first that it looked like he was not going to get his invite, but in the plot twist of the century, later on in the day, got an update that said, yes, he did indeed receive his invite to the World Championships.
Yeah. So that's cool to see for sure. I definitely felt. Now I'm not totally against the idea of there being a tiebreaker. If Pokemon really wanted 125 Masters outside of auto invites to be at the World Championships, I just think play points being the tiebreaker was very silly. That doesn't make any sense. There's no like.
Yeah, you could take like highest placement in a major or something like that. Like something like that as a tie. Yeah, I'm also not opposed to there being a tiebreaker, right?
Yeah, but yeah, this is definitely better than play points tiebreaker. So congrats to everyone who ends up with their invite because of the play points not being the tiebreaker. And I guess like we don't ever know for sure if Pokemon ever intended for play points to be a tiebreaker. It just kind of seemed like that was.
That's what it said on the website, dude.
Yeah, that's what it said on the website. That's what I like linked in one of my tweets when I kind of tweeted. I was like, this seems kind of silly for play points to be like deciding who makes it to Worlds and who doesn't. And then I like found the play point document on Pokemon.com, and it said play points would be used as a tiebreaker for travel awards and Worlds invites. So it seemed like it was going to go that way. So I don't know what Pokemon intended, but thankfully they came around and did not, or who knows if they even came around. But thankfully, play points were not a decider in people's Worlds invites. So happy to see that. Good luck to all those trainers who will be at the Worlds now. Because yeah, it would have been. I don't know, just left a bad taste in everyone's mouth, I think, if that had been, like, the outcome, not just for the players, but for people in the community, like, seeing that. I feel like we usually come together as a community and, like, realize when something feels a little off, and thankfully that is not the end result this time around.
Well, Pokemon today did put out a ton of information. I guess this was yesterday at this point when we're recording this. 2 days ago, at the point that people are listening to this, they put out a bunch of information about the new season. League Cups and League Challenges are starting in July 1st. And so people will be able to start earning their points for the next season. I always think it's funny because like players like Gabriel Fernandez, right? He'll play in his first Masters tournament before he plays in his last Seniors tournament.
Yeah.
So it'll be like, juniors and seniors who are aging up in the summer, but will still play in their respective divisions in Worlds. Kind of a minor thing. But then, big change here, adjusting Swiss tournament rounds. After analyzing data from the 2025 season and taking trainer feedback into consideration, the Swiss format used for the Pokemon TCG and Pokemon Video Game Regional Championships, Special Championships, Internationals, yada yada yada, will undergo a variety of changes. All age divisions at these tournaments, if they have at least 65 participants, will have one additional round of Swiss pairings. This additional round will make it more likely that trainers with records of X and 2 or better, such as 9-0, 8-1, or 7-2, will reach asymmetrical top 8. This additional Swiss round will also improve the tournament experience as competitors vie for top cut placements and cash prizes in the final matches of Swiss Phase 2. For most age divisions, Swiss Phase 1 will feature 8 Swiss tournament rounds, with rounds scheduled to either conclude on day 1 or continue into day 2 of a tournament. Since this can fluctuate, it is best to review each tournament schedule provided by the TO. And then in an effort to smooth out tournament proceedings, asymmetrical top 8 will now be capped at 16 total participants, compared to the 32 total participant slots for the 2025 season, regardless of the number of competitors tied with the 8th place competitor. Tournament results and community feedback pertaining to this change will continue to be closely monitored.
Yeah, so basically current season structure was asymmetrical top 8 up to top 32. Now they're cutting it down to top 16. So asymmetrical top 8 up to 16 players, and they're adding another round of Swiss in day 2, right? In day 2 of competitions. Yeah, it has to be day 2. So day 1 will still be for like most US/Canada regional championships. Day 1 will be 8 to 9 rounds. We're hoping for more 9-round than 8-round tournaments this season. We'll see how things pan out. And then day 2 usually was 4 rounds, but now it'll be 5 rounds for most of them. And then we'll be hitting the 6th round, I assume, at 4,000 players. So maybe EUIC and NAIC will see 6 rounds day 2, again, like we did in the previous season. And they do say they're going to monitor this throughout the rest of this season as well. I think there were some good points specifically made by Gearhart and Hedrick, I think, when these changes initially happened, that more Swiss rounds is always just better than asymmetrical cut in terms of like getting the best players furthest in the tournament. And I think that does just make sense. So I wonder if we'll just kind of see this revert back to, instead of getting this one extra round of day 2, we're going to get the second round that we had, not this season, but last season, and then no asymmetrical cut after that. I do like asymmetrical cut, but in the trade-off of Swiss rounds, it doesn't really make a ton of sense. But honestly, one more Swiss round from here versus no more asymmetrical cut is probably pretty close to the same thing, I would assume. I haven't done the math on it or thought about it that much, but I'm sure... I wonder if we'll see like a post from Gearhart at any point breaking it down, and I would like to know if he thinks we should go, or the people who have thought about it think we should go further and try and reclaim that last Swiss round and then lose asymmetrical cut. But I thought asymmetrical cut was kind of cool this year so far this season.
Yeah, I'm down for asymmetrical cut, and I think that this is like a good spot to be in because we were
happy medium.
What we were doing was Swiss +1 effectively.
I think
right?
it was +2. Oh, this season or last season?
Last season it was Swiss +1, I think.
Was
it
Swiss
Swiss
+2? Yeah, I think this season we were still Swiss +1. Wait, so then we'd be going to Swiss +3? No, now we're like true Swiss, I think. I actually don't know for sure.
I think that this is true Swiss. What we did this past season was Swiss -1. What we did the season before was Swiss +1. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. And yeah, I mean, I think this feels like a solid system. I feel like a lot of players throughout the season really missed that last Swiss round. And it gives you just one more chance to kind of push for a little bit higher placement, whether it be for, more points, more packs, more cash, or push into top 8. And also this increases the chance that, I think now it will be possible for players who are X2-1 to make cuts.
That's what I was about to say.
At certain tournaments.
I'm not sure if it does change that or not.
I think it'll depend on like the size of the tournaments. I think some of the bigger ones, it won't matter. Yeah. But some of the like 8-round day 1s, I feel like it will make it so those players can make cut now. That's like my kind of gut feeling about it. I haven't done the math on those things yet.
Yeah, I have no clue to be honest, but I'm sure.
But regardless, those players can definitely. Yeah, because those players, if they won out, if someone came in at X2-1 and they won out, they were going to be in the top 16 most likely.
Yeah, but everyone else has another round to win into as well.
Sure.
So it almost like makes me think that asymmetrical cut will be smaller, but X2-1 still won't make cut. But I could be wrong on that. We'll have smaller.
But there were times last year where it was like, okay, X1-2 won't even make cut, and that definitely won't be the case now. X1-2 will definitely be fighting. At most tournaments for a spot at top cut.
Almost definitely, yeah. Yeah, and then I guess maybe won't have X2-1 maybe never makes no.
I don't know.
I think it's like because everyone gets an extra round, so it's just like you just have to win another round. See, that's what I'm saying. Is it almost like no? But I guess it does depend on the amount of players in the tournament. You're right. Yeah. I don't know the full math. I'm just gonna wait for Robin to update the the Limitless Swiss calculator on Limitless, and that's what I'm gonna use. So whenever Robin updates that, that's what I'm gonna use to figure it out.
Overall, I think this seems like a good positive change compared to what we had this past year. Also, like this thing about it removing, in theory, there was budgeted time for there to be a top 32. That never happened, and we never really even got close to there being more than 16 players in ASIM. I think 14 was the most, 15 at NAIC, right? So, yeah, I think that totally makes sense. This probably plays a bigger factor for VG players. Now there will be a pretty big bubble for 16, assuming this applies to VG. I think it does.
I did just because I looked it up. I am looking on the updated Swiss tournament structure for this season, not next season, and it says we were playing Natural Swiss +1. So that means before last season we were playing Natural Swiss +3.
I don't know if that feels
I have it right here. Like,
correct.
this is what I see. It just says Natural Swiss +1, and this is what we played this season.
Natural Swiss +1, 2,000 players, yeah.
Yeah. So that means the season before we played Natural Swiss +3, and now we're going to Natural Swiss +2. Going to this new season then.
Allegedly, I'm still not convinced.
I mean, Pokemon does put some interesting stuff on their site sometimes. Play points were supposed to be the tiebreaker, so.
The bigger deal here, and I think what had a lot of people talking, was this end of round rule change.
This is a big one.
This is a big one. During the 2025 season, and for many seasons previous, when time was called in a round, competitors had +3 turns to conclude their active game. If the game did not resolve in those turns, the game was declared a draw, and the match concluded accordingly. For example, if one competitor would yada 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 yada. This end of round proceeding, I'm not going to read every little bit. This end of round procedure creates complicated situations for event operations since the +3 turns phase of a match technically has no time limit. It's been observed that competitors play differently during overtime and stretch out their turns, making round turnover unpredictable and significantly extending round times. I think that is a true statement. Yes?
Yes.
People definitely slow it down during +3 turns. We've concluded that the overtime procedure is not achieving its intended goal, with a significant percentage of matches still resulting in a draw after +3 turns. I feel like that is also true, yes?
Yep.
To mitigate these unintended complications, we are implementing the following rules. After time is called in the round, competitors will have an additional full turn, +1 turn, to complete their match. The active competitor will complete their turn 0. Their opponent will complete their turn, and if no winner is determined by that point, the game is a draw. An overtime clock of 10 minutes will be instituted for this additional turn. If play does not conclude within the allotted time, the game is a draw. The overtime clock is intentionally long compared to the average turn length, with the hope that this clause will trigger only in extreme situations where slow play penalties may already be considered and applied where appropriate. So basically, they're not changing the amount of time that you have in a game, and you get 2 less turns to complete a best-of-3 match.
Yeah, so you'll get active turns +1, which I guess I understand. My initial take was on this, like, can we just get, and this is what I've been saying for a while, can we just get rid of plus turns and just give us 60-minute rounds? That's what I've been saying and advocating for a while. Some players made some decent points on Twitter, but I don't know if it actually applies the more I've thought about it, is that if you have no plus, people will always just make it like people will always play for, and people like bringing up references up to older formats where this was true, where we didn't have +3, where people would play to be the last turn of time, right? But can't you just do the same thing where you play to not be turn 0 and then your opponent's turn 0 and then your turn 1? Like, it's the same thing. You can always play for something, right? So I think if we just had more time on the clock, especially they're talking like this overclock of 10 minutes, what, like, just turn this into actual game time.
Yeah.
And then I feel like every time I go to time and I'm in turns, after time has been called, a judge is like right there. Now, should there need to be a judge for every single match all the time? I don't know. It does seem like that is true. So, I mean, as long as there's judges monitoring the games still and making sure people are playing at reasonable pace of play, and you put it on the players to call a judge if reasonable pace of play is not being maintained, then we shouldn't need an overclock of 10 minutes for 2 turns, right? Active turn plus the +1. That should be over in, 3 to 4 minutes probably. And then that extra time, we can just put towards the normal game clock. So the fact that they're even acknowledging that and then, like, acknowledging this overtime clock feels a little bit silly to me. Yeah. I think, like, the in-tournament play culture within the community is the thing that needs to change, and people just need to know that they need to still play at a pretty fast pace of play even once you're in turns. And we should be putting that time towards people playing more Pokemon and not towards people 1 or 2 games finishing, using all 10 minutes to finish the extra turns because they want to think a long time.
So I would say that what they've said in here about many of the games that go to +3 turns end up ending in a tie.
Yeah, everything they said was true.
It's definitely true, but there's also a pretty decent percentage of games that do finish in turn 3 of time.
Yes.
So, I mean, this change will create more ties just naturally. which I think is one of the most frustrating things for a lot of competitors is like coming away from a game with no clear-cut winner. Or like, I mean, how often have you heard someone come up to you at a tournament and say, if I had one more turn, you
Yeah.
know? Happens so often, right? And now it'll be even more prevalent, it feels like. Yeah, I think that just if they've got this 10-minute time budgeted for the end of the round, why not just do 60 minutes plus 0, right?
Yeah.
60 minutes, time is called, finish the active player's turn, then the game is done. I think that would be a much better solution because so many more turns of Pokemon in theory can be played in those 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, and I'm not 100% convinced that not having at least +1 doesn't not make sense. So I could definitely be argued into, like, I'm not like set on like, no, there's no reason to have any plus turns. I'm sure there's some good arguments. I'd love to hear them. Why it's good to have at least a +1 to like kind of mitigate how much control either player has over whose turn it is at the end of the time when time is called. The +1 might be a big deal for that. But yeah, cut the overclock. Even if we cut the overclock time to half, to 5 minutes, and we put those 5 minutes back into the time pool, 55 minutes +1. If we get to 60 minutes +1, that'd be sick. Like, you can play so much Pokemon in 5 to 10 minutes if both players are trying to win the game, right? And trying to just like play as much Pokemon as possible. So this feels, yeah, more. We're gonna have more ties for sure. Going to be a lot more ties. Everything they said is true, and I'm fine with them getting rid of the plus turns because, yeah, those plus returns took forever. Once time was called, players entered turns. Yeah, that's like those 3 turns are the longest turns in the game in any round, right? No one else is taking longer turns than those turns because there's no time. So, like, theoretically, you can make sure you think as long as you possibly can. So if we're removing some of these turns, it would be nice to see that turn time being given back to the overall clock. But maybe that's something they're trying to like play against. Is they're trying to find ways to make rounds shorter than they currently are.
Yeah.
So that could be something that's going on here with tournaments getting bigger. It's like maybe they're like, that's even if we took the equal amount of time, and moved the time to the clock instead of the turns, that's still too long for us to be able to realistically manage how big the tournaments are getting. So we need to try and create more room for moving the tournament along. I could see that being it, but that feels pretty bad if that's the direction we're headed. Where now we're just like playing less Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
We're playing less Pokemon in a round of Pokemon at a major tournament than we were this season, going into next season. So they also haven't said that we're doing 50 minutes as well. This is something that Brent Tonneson pointed out on Twitter. They haven't said we're doing 50 minutes, but I think they would have mentioned it if we were going to be getting more time.
That would be a pretty big change to change the amount of time in
and not
best
say
of 3. So I have to assume that this means 50 minutes.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate. I don't think anyone's happy about it. Anyone likes that. I do think it makes sense for them to try and reduce the amount of turns, if not to 0, to 1, because like they say, everything they say in this write-up makes sense and it's all true. But it would be nice to see the clock get some of that time back, for sure.
Other than that, other things of note here, Ace Trainer Rewards Program is returning, confirmed for next season. 200 championship points is the mark. They said there will be more details later on, so that is cool.
Well,
sure.
It is, yeah. That's what they said last time, more details, and then it was very disappointing.
And then we do have some dates for the first couple of regionals. A bunch of them through most of the season, honestly, for the other regions, but the first 3 in North America have been announced, which, I mean, should we just talk about those mostly here?
Yeah.
So, first one is going to be Pittsburgh Regionals, September 19th to 21st, Milwaukee Regionals, October 10th to 12th, and then Las Vegas, November 14th to 16th, a new city on the Pokemon Regional Circuit. I saw plenty of memes and jokes about Las Vegas being a stop now. Going to be an interesting one for sure. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I literally just had this discussion on my stream before coming here, and I was like, I don't think they've had so many opportunities to do Las Vegas. I don't think they're going to do it. I understand like why they would maybe not want to with the brand, with Pokemon being the brand that it is, and I was like, I think that's fine. Like, do I think it'd be a problem if they did it there? No. Do I think anyone would really care? No. But if for some reason they just don't want to do it based on what the Pokemon brand is, that doesn't seem like a bad... I think it is a miss overall because I think it's probably one of the best cities to have a convention in. Especially if you're doing like a circuit like this, Vegas makes sense to be on the circuit. And we're going there. It's official. So literally, I guess I spoke a little bit too soon.
I mean, so many of the other card games have massive tournaments in Vegas.
The biggest tournament in North America was in Vegas. for Magic.
Yeah,
so,
back in like 2012 or 13 or something like that, right?
was it 2007?
Or 15 maybe? I don't know.
Oh,
No,
14
it was
or 15, I think you're right. I think you're
14 or 15 maybe.
Yeah.
But,
So
yeah.
we're definitely missing quite a few North American regionals. We're probably going to, I'd assume, my guess was we're going to see 9 again, but.
Yeah, and we even had people tweeting like
there were some detectives for
there
sure.
were some detectives in this little clip of the season release that they put out in North America. You can see like the lights of where in theory the cities are going to be that the tournaments would be at. So,
and apparently all the rest of the lights for the other regions lined up for I'm going to go ahead and guess that the lights are lining up for North America. And maybe they even did this I assume they did this on purpose. Like, all right, we'll basically tell you where they are, but we don't have any dates or anything. So.
I doubt that much thought went into it, to be honest. I bet it was more like...
You think there's no miscommunication?
Yeah, I mean, it's like they're not trying to... This is not an official announcement of locations, right?
Yeah.
Them posting this video, but it is showing potentially where these things are probably going to be. I saw one of the funniest things I saw with this is like everyone is all concerned about the regionals locations, but why are we not worried about the giant Wolfie Glick in the Pacific Ocean? But yeah, I mean, it looks like some familiar regional stops. I think people were saying like Toronto, Milwaukee, obviously up here, Indianapolis, which we haven't been to. Pittsburgh is one we're returning to as well that we haven't been to in a while.
Yeah, so we're going back to Florida, maybe.
Florida in some way. I've seen people saying Florida. I've seen one of my friends that lives in Florida said this looks dangerously close to Daytona Beach as opposed to Orlando.
I'm going back. Dude, Daytona is so hot.
I hope we do not go to Daytona Beach.
It is the most... I don't remember... Because, yeah, I went there... I was going to say, I don't remember what time of the year it was. I went there for a Pokemon regional, so I could figure out what time of the year. But it's the most humid I've ever... It's the worst... The worst humidity I've ever experienced in my life was the last or the one before last Daytona Regionals.
It was like 2018 or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember that tournament too.
It was awful. But yeah, I think that's some other things to maybe make note of here. They announced all the IC dates.
Dude, look at the actual Pokemon TCG account tweeted this.
Are they allowed to do that?
I don't know, but they did.
I mean, I'm down for it, bro. I'm down to see more of it.
That's ridiculous.
Have you ever seen?
That's how you know a meme is dead. Whenever like a corporation starts tweeting it.
You say that, but have you ever seen some of the esports like social accounts, bro? They get pretty unhinged. It's pretty funny. We'll see if the Pokemon TCG Twitter goes that route. But yeah, all the IC locations. We're going back to all the same locations for the ICs. Yeah. All the dates were. Did one of them get taken back, or are they all up right now?
Oh, did Latin America go away? I don't see Latin America on here.
Yeah, it was up initially, and then it went away, and now it's still not back. So I guess maybe unconfirmed for Latin America.
Interesting.
I swear it was up there initially.
It was, and I think it was the weekend after Las Vegas, right?
Yes. So maybe they have yet to lock in a date or something. That definitely is a little weird.
Yeah, and it was in Sao Paulo again, but that is currently not on the website, so...
Who knows?
Who knows, man? Here we are. But we're going back to New Orleans for an AIC, which I'm fine with. But I do think it's enjoyable to like go to other cities in these regions and countries when we go. So I would not hate to see an AIC somewhere else next year. I would not hate to see EUIC somewhere else next year.
Yep.
So, LAIC as well. Every time I've been, it's been in Sao Paulo. So... yeah, it would be cool to just see it be mixed up.
Yeah. I don't know if everything got announced for Europe, but 7 majors got announced there. Less special events. Only one special event was announced. It's Seville, but Utrecht is now a regional championship, which is cool to see. I don't know why Europe is still having special events, but hopefully there's at least a good reason. And then the last thing I was going to mention was just for Latin America. There's 3 regionals in Mexico now.
Yeah, 3 regionals in Mexico. There was 2 last season, so up a bit already, and... Yeah, it's definitely cool to see. You're going to try to go defend your regional championship title in Merida?
Maybe. For some reason, I think that it was conflicting with something, so I don't think I'm going to be going to Merida. I might try and go to the new one. I don't know how to pronounce the city name, but I think if I was going to go to one, that would
it's Birmingham Regionals weekend and Auckland Special Championships. That's another one. Auckland, New Zealand,
Yeah.
getting a special tournament for the first time in a long time. I feel like did I see
think
Henry
it's like-
Brands tweet it?
Yeah, 31 players or something, I think, was the last time I saw
Oh,
it
back
too.
in 2017, it was a regionals.
Oh.
Regionals in 2017, there were 49 players there.
My bad.
Someone won $5,000 for the 49 player tournament.
Let's go. The Auckland Regional. Was it a special event before that?
And it was a special in 2018 and 2019.
Why have we gone back to a special event? That's interesting.
That is interesting.
They somehow got the upgrade.
It also
now.
decreased in player numbers, probably because it was a special as opposed to a regional.
Wait, it decreased from the special to
Yeah, the regional was 49, and then it went down to 30-30 for the special. It'll be bigger than that for sure.
Oh,
this
wait,
time.
it turned from a regional to a special event. I see. I thought it went from a special
That's what I'm
to a
saying,
regional.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm sure there'll be a couple hundred this time.
Yeah, probably. And then you'll see some Japanese players at this thing as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, trying to spike that invite.
Trying to spike the invite. So, yeah, the game has just changed so much since 2019 when the last time there was an Auckland Special Championships. It would be so cool to go to New Zealand, man. I'd love to go, but probably not happening anytime soon.
Yeah, that is something. That's what I was, well, I don't know if I want to go for a special event, but I'm going to try and go to one of the Australian regionals. I think I'll try and hit up New Zealand on my way through, or on my way after.
Well, there was no
something
regionals
like
announced in
that.
Oceania, just this. Okay.
Yeah. It'd be, I mean, it would be kind of funny if that's the only
No, dude, come on.
If they just get the Auckland special event.
Oh.
They don't have any other regionals.
One more thing. Oh, where is this posted, actually?
What?
There is... They updated the amount of invites next year. Where is that posted?
Oh, yeah. Now that you mentioned it.
It is now 135 Masters next season, as opposed to 125 for this season. So increased a bit.
Get details on the 2026 Championship Series. Is this it? Championship Series page. I did find it, yeah. Do you want me to link it to you, or do you find it? You got it, yeah.
Here we are.
Click on top one. Top link. No, go down. That.
This right here, Championship Series page. Yeah, here we are, guys. Professional production over here. Yes, 135 Masters receiving invites this coming year, and 5 more juniors. This was another thing I think I saw a pretty good post on Twitter kind of outlining the gripes and pains of the juniors and seniors division, parents and families, like the strain it puts on the families to like be competitive in the game right now, which I don't know if that's like fostering the environment they want to foster at the moment.
I doubt it. Yeah, it's just like...
It just feels hyper competitive.
Yeah, you have to travel. I mean, you have to travel more than as a junior and senior, I feel like, than as a master to like get your Worlds invite. Because like for Masters, I mean, if you like, I said this on my stream, like as well, like obviously you have to be able to compete some amount, right? You have to be able to travel some amount, go to at least probably 4 or 5 majors, but you could definitely do it in 4 or 5 majors as long as like one of them is an IC, maybe 2 of them, like. As long as you prep well, play well, and if your goal is to, this kind of goes back to what we talked a little bit about on the podcast before, like what is your goal? Is your goal to just get the Worlds invite? It's like, okay. But if your goal is to get, like, to be competitive and get good at the game and like maybe to top cut or win some of these major tournaments, your goal should just be to get good. And that doesn't mean you have to get your Worlds invite this year or the next year. If you get better, you will get your Worlds invite eventually. And just like if you enjoy the game, learn to just enjoy competing in the game for as much as you can, and then let that become whatever it is, you know? But for juniors and seniors, it's like, even if like as a master, you can be like, okay, I can go to this is the season, I've been playing for 2 seasons, coming up, I'm going to be able to have the time and the resources to go to like 5 majors. So if I really put my all into it, I think I can walk away from the season with my invite, you know, plus locals or whatever. But for juniors and seniors, actually, I don't even know if that's reasonable. It's so much more expensive. We have to bring the whole family or some of the family, right?
Yeah.
Everything is way more expensive. So a lot of people have been saying, like, juniors and seniors should probably go back to the old system, where it's like you need to get 600 championship points, 700 championship points, whatever it might be, to get your World invite, instead of competing for the top 80 slots. Because it just seems like that is like a bigger... it's a lot harder to, you know, travel with your kid or kids to an event. It's a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
And then it does become a little bit more... I don't know. I guess from what I've heard from the parents, it does feel like it's a little bit more pay to win in that aspect. Where I feel like in the Masters division, it's a little bit easier to compete against each other with the tournaments you can go to, if that makes sense. But yeah, they increased the invites a little bit. They didn't increase the auto invites, which I'm a little bit disappointed in. I like to have seen that just be bumped up, just like give regional second place players their auto invite or something. I just want to see it bumped up just a little bit. But who knows, maybe next season as the game continues to grow, we'll see it bump up a little bit. But I think we're still in a decent spot for those. If you get second at a regional, you don't have to do too much more, to be honest, to be able to walk away with your Worlds invite as long as you can go to 4 or 5 majors.
Yeah, did anyone who got second at regionals this year in North America whiff their invites? We're going to put them on blast right now on the podcast.
Are you going to check?
Yeah, let's check.
All right.
North America from this year. So starting back in, Baltimore?
Sure.
We had Kieran. Kieran got his invite for sure. Louisville, Caleb beat Michael Davidson. Michael Davidson got his invite and won a regionals. Sacramento, Kenneth Gilman. Ooh, I don't know. Did Kenneth get there? I'm not sure. You got nothing for me?
On Kenneth? I don't know if Kenneth got there.
Toronto, Callie White definitely got her invite. Second place at San Antonio. Szymanski got his invite for sure. This is special events. Vancouver, Lucas Zing got his invite for sure. Atlanta, Andrew Hedrick. And then Milwaukee was McConney? Yeah, so all these players for sure got their invites. Portland, Henry Chow got 20 invites or something like that.
If Kenneth got his... Wait, actually, did I think I beat Kenneth on the winning into NAIC.
Kenneth Gilman is ranked 59th.
Oh, okay.
Board, so he's chilling.
More than good. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean he's super chilling, and that's I mean riding massively. I think on the back of a second, but like you said, it's like so many points for getting second place. Like even if you don't get the win and get the direct invite, pretty good odds you'll be able to close out the invite on the year.
Definitely, yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I think that's all the big updates. Azul, you got anything else you want to kind of cover here before we kick it over to our bonus episode?
No, I think that's it. I can't think of anything else I want to touch on.
They didn't change anything with travel awards or stipends, it looks like. This is information for this coming year.
I think one thing, I guess, now with this information out there, this is like, there's a lot of people who are like deciding if they want to or don't want to like compete this year. For their Worlds invite versus just like go to like anything that's really close and local. But if you're trying to be, I think like the mindset I think is just really toxic around the Worlds invite and the Pokemon TCG still. Definitely is less so since the changes from last year, but you just need like the mindset you need to have is that you just want to compete in the game and you want to enjoy the competition, and you have to like not be consumed with getting the Worlds invite or anything like that, and just worry about being the best competitor and the best player you can be. Tournament to tournament, and just that needs to be what consumes you, not the idea of getting the Worlds invite. I think that leads to like the really easily leads to like a very toxic mentality where you give up or you're frustrated, or will lead to you prepping worse and playing worse at an actual tournament.
Or it leads to you feeling like you deserve something,
Yeah.
I think that's a thing too, where people, it's like they feel like they're working towards this goal of this invite, and it's like they get to these situations in local tournaments where it's like they're dead drawing and losing, and it's like I feel like
frustrating.
Yeah. And it's a toxic kind of relationship with the game.
But if you're even like considering trying to go for your Worlds invite, like I said, you should probably like that shouldn't ever be the mindset. But let's just say like it's like, okay, this year I want to like compete more. Let's just say it's like that. Like that means you probably really enjoy or love the game, and at that point, you just enjoy and love competing in the game. And if you're trying to be competitive, that means you're trying to improve. You're trying to get better. Just make that the focus. Make that the goal to improve. Do the best you can, tournament to tournament. Don't be consumed with like anything besides that, and everything will kind of fall into place. And like as you get towards the end of the year, or in the middle of the season, it's still cool to be. It's still good to be aware of where you're at with championship points, and maybe you decide to go to one extra major tournament than you normally would have for where you're currently at in your standings. So don't completely ignore it, but don't make it like the thing that kind of consumes your play this season. No matter how competitive you are or aren't. Try and make your goal, I don't know, to top cut the next major tournament you go to. I think that's like a much healthier goal in terms of like prepping and, I guess putting that pressure or stress on yourself. Like, all right, this next major tournament that I'm going to, top cut or just do as best as you can. Like just enjoy that process, tournament to tournament, and figure out where you're coming up short and what you can do better and stuff like that. So I guess that would be like my advice to people, because I'm sure with this new announcement, a lot of people are thinking about or deciding whether they want to compete in terms of being more competitive this season or not. I'm not even going to say the word. I'm not going to say the word. Just like if they're wanting to be more competitive or not. So that'd be like my advice with all that. Just enjoy the game.
All right, Azul. Well, I think that's all we got for the main episode this week. Anything else you want to say? For a second time?
No, I think that's it. Or
All
I guess if you're picking between events to go to, and the idea of the thing is something you want to achieve,
The invite.
ICs are worth quite a bit more than going to another regional. So if you're picking between events, trying to hit as many ICs as possible at the trade-off of even potentially 2 regionals.
So Azul doesn't want you to think about just getting the invite, but if you're thinking about just worrying about getting the invite, strategize a little bit.
Yeah, a little strategy doesn't
I do
hurt.
think it is like reasonable to think about it that way, but like you can think about it strategically and then also have the mentality of like I just want to play the best Pokemon I can play. Right?
Yeah, you can do both.
All right, well, appreciate everyone for your support. Thanks so much for listening. If you do enjoy the podcast, be sure to leave us a like, review, rating, comment, subscribe. Those things help us out a bunch. Let us know you're enjoying, help more people discover the show, all of those things. If you want to stay up to date with myself and Azul, the best place to do it is over on Twitter. You can follow myself at Chip Ritchie. Azul is at Azul_GG. And you can also follow the podcast at Uncommon_Energy.
Appreciate the support as always. Catch y'all next Wednesday, 7 a.m. Eastern.